Uh, so yeah, big news in the crypto world as of late. Wall Street institutions, they are catching on. The big money is definitely showing signs of making its way into this market. Let me get my screen share here so I can show you guys what I've been looking and reading. So yeah, with that, Bitcoin sitting at 8,500. Just looking here at the top currency. Oh no, what did I do? Okay. Yeah, I like to break down this is a little bit different than your traditional CoinMarketCap view. Like if you go on the WAN website, you won't get these data right here, but yeah, just use this URL right here. And I like to look at this because it shows like what's happened in the last 1 hour, which is kind of irrelevant. Unless you're scalping, you're sitting here watching them, but last 24 hours and then the last 7 days, because I think that's also really important, like noticing, okay, this had a bad week or is this just a good day? You know, it gives you a little more data of what's been actually happening, the growth of these coins. But yeah, getting into it, we are sitting, I mean, to be honest, we're ranging. We're still ranging. We had that crazy movement in April where we went from 6K to 10K, and we're still pretty much in the correction of that movement. And let's get on a chart so I can make this more easy to understand. So right now we're ranging from that initial bull push from 6K to 10K. We're in the retracement of that. But overall, we're still in the retracement of the general bear trend the market is in right now. From when we first hit 20K all the way back in December. And actually, that 20K, I just learned this a couple of weeks ago, and it never really like stuck in my brain. But the day, I don't know if you guys know, the day that cryptos went on to they got started being traded on futures. I gotta turn my VPN off because it's not. There we go. So the day that cryptos got started trading on the futures market on CME and CBE, that was when price peaked out at $20,000, and price has never recovered since then. Literally, the day that they went on the futures market, price has been going down since. But we are still in a bearish market since that day. Let's pull up our Bitcoin chart. So I always look at the Bitcoin chart, and my Bitcoin chart is basically, for me, it's like, so Bitcoin started out, I've talked about this before, Bitcoin is basically, for me, it's like the confidence indicator, the confidence measure of like the whole market of investors in crypto community, because Bitcoin is the first. Bitcoin basically made this idea of decentralized trust a thing. It's proven like Bitcoin, to me, like the price of Bitcoin represents the interest, so to say, the trust in how people are feeling, the sentiment about cryptos in general. Bitcoin's price definitely reflects that. That's why when I'm always looking at the crypto market, look at total Bitcoin chart. Bitcoin's is the king at this point. And as far as it goes for now, Bitcoin is still going to be that, for me, the indicator of how this market is doing, how people feel about this market. And I say that because, like, yeah, so what cryptos have created and what cryptos have established in this world right now is decentralized trust. And I could go on about this for a long time. Like, this is insane, because how the world works today is we need things like banks, we need things like governments to have essential authority to control things, because without it, we'd have chaos. If we didn't have one central party issuing money and controlling the money supply and saying, all right, you have money, you don't have money, blah, 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 like they're the ones that create this trust for our economy to operate. Without a bank, we'd all be savages. Like, why would I facilitate commerce between me and some guy in New York? I don't trust him. I've never met him. Well, the bank creates that trust between us. They create the trust that says, all right, if I send him, like if I'm requesting a payment from him, he's got this money. Like the bank keeps the ledger, they keep the account of our records of money so that we can have trust, even though we've never met each other, because we're using a bank. We trust the bank, so therefore we trust each other, and we can institute commerce. We can trade things between each other because we know the bank's going to be like, yep, he's got that money. And like they'll say, yep, now you have the money. The bank is the so to say, the centralized trust source. What cryptos are and what blockchain is decentralized trust. It's so grandiose, this idea. It literally is. It's honestly, today I was like, I have these moments where like when I first got into this, I had that moment, and I've had them few like in between. I've had moments like this, but today I had another moment like, holy fuck, shit. Excuse my language. I know I should keep this censored, but like it really, like, I truly believe this is one of, I don't want to say this. I'm trying to contain my excitement. I'm trying to be clear and concise how I say this too. Crypto is the biggest thing that's ever happened in the history of the world, period. And we're sitting here and we're watching the very beginning developments of this. So like I was saying, like getting back to what I was saying, now that you know like how excited I am about this and how I truly believe this is going to change the world. It's going to take some time, of course. Like nothing happens overnight. Revolutions don't happen like that. Like we're in the ground floor stages of this. Going back to what I was saying about centralized trust, centralized and decentralized trust. So banks were those centralized trust figures so we could institute commerce. Bitcoin now has introduced, and cryptocurrencies as a general, has come up with a system for us to have a ledger of this accounts of value that is decentralized. There's no one single centralized authority that can control it, and that is the genius. That is the biggest what's the word I'm looking for? This is the biggest awesome thing about this, you know, because no longer do we need a centralized centralized authority to say, okay, this is what's happened in history, and this is our record of it. Because as the world stood before, or as it kind of stands now too, before cryptos are getting what crypto wants to take on is decentralized trust figures. Like, what's up, Jay? So they pretty much, for the history of time, we've had governments, we've had banks, we've had all these centralized big entities that have basically been able to keep the record of what's happened in history. They control the record of, the banks control the record of money. They have that record of who has money, who doesn't have money. They can, and like, you know, like it would be cheating, but they can manipulate that record. Hold on, guys. Someone's at my door. It cut me off with this. I'll be right back. Yeah, what I was saying, as the history of the world has been so far, centralized institutions have been able to keep the record of history. They have sole control over this record. They're the ones who can change it. Nobody else can. They keep the record. The history books. I mean, I'm getting big scale here because I truly believe this cryptography and the decentralized ledger is insane. And this is like the sorts of things we're going to start seeing change in the world. Like, no longer will we have banks and governments that control the history of time, because what the blockchain is, what decentralized ledger technology is a decentralized record of what's happened. Everybody can see it. It's fully transparent and it's immutable. So that means I am going to, like, when what happens in history, let's say we conduct a transaction here. The most like applicable, the best application of having a record of history is accounting for money. I transact money between you guys here in the chat. I give Kevin $5. We're gonna put that onto our ledger as a record of what happened in history. And why decentralized ledger technology is so awesome is because once I put that on the record, you guys there's a consensus protocol, which is like why I get into all this deep tech stuff about crypto calls, and a lot of people don't understand this stuff. And I just want to say, nobody understands shit in crypto. It's still so new. But back to my big picture I'm painting here is once I post that record of me sending $5 to Kevin I post that onto our record of history through our consensus protocol, which is either a proof of work, proof of stake. However we go about achieving consensus, each project has their own little way, but that's the consensus protocol is how me, Caleb, Alan, everyone on this call, how we've all agreed that this transaction has occurred. through this consensus protocol, now all of us have agreed, yep, I sent that $5 to Kevin. Kevin got that $5. We all agree. Now let's write it to the blockchain. Now it's set there. And what the geniusness of this is like we don't need, so establishing and verifying these transactions is done through the people. It's not done through a centralized authority. So this is genius because therefore every single person has a record of this transaction. We all have access to this record of this transaction, and this transaction record, this account of history, is immutable. Nobody can go and change this history. Let's say like 5 years down from the road from now, whatever, like me and Kevin are like in like against, we don't like each other anymore, and I want to pretend like that business never happened. I want my money back. I could go back in there and erase that history. No, hell no. Like that can't happen on the blockchain. I'm getting into a little bit of a conspiracy idea, but like the history of the world has been censored. I don't know like how, I don't want to get too deep into this. I want to keep it cryptocurrency related, but the record of what's happened in the world is just one person's account of it. We all know it's history. It's not her story. It's history. Like how patriarchal like the world exists, like how it's always man, like white history, like things have been whitewashed. We all know that like pretty much the only version of history you got what happened 100 years ago is you get the story from the winners. You don't get the story from the losers because they all died. They couldn't tell their story. So the truth of that event is only coming from the people who were on one side of it. They were able to create that truth. Their record of events isn't encapsulating of all of actually what happened. They're only going to give you their record of events from their standpoint of view, which is going to be for their benefit, which is how the world works today. Like if you're getting what I'm saying here with like how blockchain works, it's literally going to be a recording of history that is everyone can see, decentralized, unfuckwithable. Like it's just genius. Let me check this chat. What's going on, guys? So yeah, that is why I love cryptos. The whole idea of decentralized being a decentralized record of everything happening in the world. It's just the most genius idea in the history of ever. Like honestly, it's the best thing I've ever come across in my life. I'm all in on it. I think it's going to absolutely change the world. Blockchain's really freaking cool. Anyone have any questions about anything I just talked about at all? Like anything. Conspiracies, decentralized trust, banks, anything at all. Hit me with it. If not, I will get into like what the actual call of this. Sorry for that ranting like that. I love you guys for being here. Yeah, I go off on like tangents like that sometimes, but yeah, here we are. So yeah, let's get into recent developments of the crypto world. Moving forward now. That was my whole just cryptos are awesome bullish front. So yeah, I definitely think we're gonna this is the future, you know. That gets me into this quote I come across, or it's actually a law. It's developed by a professor. It's called the Mayor's Law, and this has to do with technology and evaluating technology. So that is like we all know we have this. Now we have reached pretty much the agreement of that cryptos are awesome. This technology is going to change the world, how it works. We're going to have new ways of establishing trust. We're no longer going to have central parties that basically profit off of creating trust between people. We're going to be able to do that ourselves through the blockchain. So everyone loves blockchain. It's the new hype thing of the world. You know, everyone wants to, and especially in business, you put the word blockchain in and people are going to be like, people are catching on to this idea, sort of like the internet before. Once you have discovered and sort of seen the crypto light, once you've discovered what this technology is and what it can be and what it will be, and oh yeah, you realize this is going to change the world. Absolutely. Most people like are beginning to wake up to that. You know, we still have a lot of people that are Warren Buffett, for example, JP Morgan CEO, Jamie Dimon, that have come out and said, yeah, it's a bubble, it's a fad, whatever. It's not real. They don't understand this technology. Sorry, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. But so for the people who do, and the people who have seen the light, so to say, and they understand this is going to be game changing, this is going to change the world. That leads us into, all right, now we know these projects are awesome. Now we know blockchain is awesome. We know distributed ledger technology is awesome. We know this new way of recording trust, or this new way of establishing trust, this new way of recording the history and events in a decentralized, immutable way. We know this is awesome. how the heck do we value these things? Like, how the heck do we put a monetary value on projects trying to create this sort of system, like this sort of ecosystem? How in the hell do we put a value on it? And welcome to crypto world. Like, that is the number one. Me and Briggs were talking about this last one-on-one call. This is probably the underlying most difficult thing about cryptos, is trying to attach a value to these projects and trying to sort of figure out what these things are worth, what this technology is worth. And going all the way back, you guys have noticed my teaching, like how I talk, I circle back to ideas. Like new things come in my head, but going back to the idea of that law, I said, this is how it goes. It's dealing with technology and how to evaluate it. So it's kind of like bubbles and like speculation of new things, because when we see new technology, we're like, holy shit, this is awesome. And everyone wants to be a part of it, and everyone thinks it's going to be worth way more. So what the law says is we tend to overestimate the effect of a new technology in the short run and underestimate the effect in the long run. Again, we tend to overestimate the effect of new technology in the short run and underestimate the effect in the long run. So for example, the internet. The internet had a bubble that lasted for a good 5 years, because everyone, when they first heard about the internet, they're like, holy crap, this is awesome. We can exchange information across the world like that instantaneously. This is never going to happen. This is going to be the greatest new thing ever. And yeah, they were right. But at the same time, everybody was like, this is the greatest idea ever. This is the greatest thing ever. These all things are going to be worth $1 million. Moons, Lambos, blah, blah, blah. This has already happened before. Internet bubble was very closely compared to the crypto world, because it's probably the best example of something like this happening in the history of the world, with the new technology that is game-changing, that's going to change the fundamental nature of everything works in the world. Like, yeah, everyone's going to figure out sooner or later that's happening, and everyone's going to want to put their money into it and make some money off of this new market being established. So that leads to what's happening now. I think we're still in the baby stages of the speculation. So that leads into what's happening now, which would actually creates this bubble, is everyone's trying to attach a monetary value to this kind of technology, to these projects. But at the same time, these don't exist in the real world. We don't see these real world applications of them. We don't know how it's actually going to affect the world at this point. So in that sense, hold on, let me see this. Chat. It's whack. Yeah. So in that sense, everyone's throwing their money at things because they know it's going to change the world, which leads to a big speculation frenzy, which leads to a lot of money a lot of people investing in things that they have no idea what they actually are. You know what I mean? Like, you ask people like who are bullish on blockchain, okay, there's this article. I'm going to try to find this little thing right here. I think it's in my first couple of things. I'll keep talking while I'm looking for it. But basically what goes on is everyone is trying to, here we go, yeah. This little cartoon right here. Where should we focus this here? Blockchain. It will change everything. Like, everyone's talking about it. Potential applications are endless. We don't want to left behind. He's right. The guy's right. And the girl asks, what is blockchain? And the guy's like, artificial intelligence too. He just knows the ideas that are going to change the world. He doesn't know how, and nobody really does. Like, that's the thing about cryptos. It's like, it's so new and nobody knows what the fuck they're talking about. Truly. It's so dense and so complicated, because what's going on with this whole thing is like, yeah, it's going to try to change the major systems of the world. Of course, it's going to be crazy complicated, crazy dense, and lots of things are going to happen. Lots of things are going to change. Lots of things will transpire in the course of time. But the people like who are about this and investing in it tend to normally have and like, that's ourselves included, guys. We're here to make money. A lot of us are here to like capitalize on this new technology taking over the world. Yes, I'm a part of that too. Yes, I love it for the sense that like how it's going to change things for like banking, for people who are underprivileged, for identity, for real estate, tokenizing assets. Just it's the future. I can see a trend. I'm going to hop on it. And if there's a chance to profit off that, of course we're going to. And that's just the advantage of being smart, the advantage of having foresight, advantage of having vision, advantage of being able to recognize trends before everybody else does. But everybody is getting on this wave. We're way sooner than everyone. This speculation bubble is just beginning. I'm just talking about a speculation bubble because it's a speculation bubble. People don't know what this actually is. They don't know how to evaluate it. Nobody does, because it doesn't exist yet. So that's why, getting back to that quote, we tend to overestimate things in the short run and underestimate it in the long run. So right now we're in the short run. Everyone's like, wow, future, this is great. This is gonna be the new best thing. Let's put a lot of money into it. Go, 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 go. And then you get to a point where like, wow, we were valuing all these things like crazy amounts of money, but what are they actually doing in the world? And eventually you're going to hit that speculation versus like adoption, that those two lines on the graph are going to cross, you know, and we're going to realize what the actual value of these things are. When that's going to happen, that's going to be crazy. You know, like for the internet bubble, like I'm going to cross compare it again. That bubble lasted 5 years, where like Vans.com, these crazy stocks that were just saying, oh, we're going to use the internet to do these crazy cool things. Everyone's like, yeah, here you go, here's my money. This is awesome. And then we all got to realize, I'm like, wait, where are the actual real applications of what is it actually doing in real life? Oh, yeah, not so much. And then the panic, like, you know how markets work, it's all psychology. All of a sudden, it's a bull run. Everyone's like, whoa, price is going up, going to the moon, Lambos, Cuomo. Everyone jumps in. You know, people invest with emotions. We don't, not here. Not in OA, not in Quantum Creations, not in IML. We don't do that. Fuck that. We are looking at cryptos in the sense of which of these projects are actually technologically sound, which of these projects actually have a legit team. So we're trying to find these projects that are not just speculation. We're trying to find these projects that will be around. We're trying to find, so the internet bubble, you got FAMJA, you got Facebook, Amazon, you got Facebook, Apple, Microsoft, Google, Amazon. From that bubble that got to $9 trillion market share, $9 trillion is the market cap. Right now we're sitting at what for crypto world? We're sitting at, the market's worth 390 billion. We didn't even get there. We didn't even hit $1 trillion yet. So we got lots of room to go. I think we will definitely crush at 9 trillion. Side note, whatever. So once we have gotten to this point where it's worth 10 trillion, 15 trillion, wherever this market's worth, and we don't actually see our repercussions, like, it's gonna crash. Newsflash, that's the nature of a speculation market. It is a bubble at first until the technology actually comes. So then, getting back to the quote, we tend to overestimate in the new technology in the short run and underestimate it in the effect in the long run. So after that internet bubble has ended, going back in history as an example, after that internet bubble ended, that bubble popped in 2001. Did you know that Google didn't even launch until 2004? So like everyone, like, all right, all the speculators, market popped. Internet bubble's over. Oh, yep, this internet thing, oh yeah, it didn't really turn out because everything, all stocks crashed for it. But shit, we're like, no, you missed the trend. Like, if you were just riding the speculation wave, and once that's over, yeah, most of the people are gonna hop off the bandwagon and find the next new crazy, new shiny new thing. But the people who were smart, who did their due diligence, who did their research, who knew what the internet was actually gonna do for the world, who actually understood what these projects were about, who actually understood what was going on, how the internet was gonna change the world, how basically the internet monetized attention, how the internet changed the world way of advertising, how the internet changed the world for content, how the internet changed the world for changing information, how the internet changed everything, you know? We don't know that. But those people that rode the speculation wave, they missed out on that because they didn't miss out on Google. Google was created in 2004. They missed out on Facebook, Amazon. They missed out on that shit. Yeah, it was around, but it wasn't until many years later, like Amazon, for example, it wasn't until 10, 15 years later that the value of that project really caught up to what it actually was, you know? That's when you see now Facebook, Amazon, Microsoft, Google, Apple, they're the biggest stocks there is, you know? And that came out of the internet bubble. Like, that market went up, crashed, but in the long run, those companies were still worth lots of money. And that's the same thing here. I do think this bubble will come down eventually, but at the same time, we're gonna have giants. We're gonna have crazy projects that are gonna change the world. They're gonna be the new biggest things in the world. That is going to happen. I'm so confident about that. I'm so confident about this market. And that's why I do this. That's why I do these calls. That's why when I look at my projects, yes, I love price. I love trading it. Like, I like the idea of making money now, but you almost have to suspend that sort of thing, you know, suspend the price, because honestly, it's irrelevant. Like, what Bitcoin's moving in the next 2-3 weeks is pretty irrelevant in terms of the history of the world in the next 10 years, what the price of Bitcoin's doing, you know? Bitcoin's being compared as a new store of value like gold is, you know, people, that is just a whole other call right there, you know? So like, just being conscious of that and just letting you know, guys know, and that is my approach to cryptos and to this market, is I'm looking and I'm doing my research on the fundamental aspects of these projects. I want to find the Facebook, I want to find Apple, I want to find Microsoft, I want to find Google, I want to find Amazon, I want to find all of them, you know? even if I don't, you know, even if I get like 2 or 3 of those, if you guys get like, if we can invest in 2 or 3 of those projects right now and hold them, like I'm a hodler. That's the first thing foremost too. Like my investments, when I tell you guys, when I'm talking about a project, I'm talking about something I see as valuable 5, 10 years from now. Like we're trying to be ahead of the curve here. You know, we're trying to find Facebook. We're trying to find these companies, the FamJet. We're trying to find them before everybody else does. Because in that sense, you put $100 into that $100, you have $1,000 in the future. You put real money, like, you know what I'm saying here, guys? Like these companies, these projects, they're the future. I truly believe that, and that's why I do these. Like that's what I want to educate about is my findings of the market, my findings of what I think good projects are, what I think bad projects are. Just sort of being the more educated, intelligent investors in this market, because most people in this market, like I was saying before, are speculators. They really don't even know what they're investing in. They're investing on hype. They're investing in trends. Those guys don't win in the long run. Sure, you can get lucky. You can invest in something, you can just hold it, and then you got lucky. But if you don't know the fact that, like, if you didn't know back in the day, like when the internet bubble crashed, you didn't know that some of these projects still had lots of things in the work and that they were going to be valued. You didn't believe in the technology, you would have been with everybody else who took out their money and went on to something else, because that's what it takes to hold through these dips. That's what it takes. Like I invested, honestly guys, I invested a lot of my money in December and January. I'm down in my portfolio, but I love the technology. I know and I understand the technology, the projects I'm invested in. And I'm invested in these projects for the long term. I don't give a shit if price goes down, if Bitcoin goes down to 2,000 right now. I could care less if my investments go down 90%. That is how convicted I am in my beliefs of this market and this technology. That is what I want to, if I can have a purpose with what I do with these things, that's what I want to instill in you guys. I want to instill that confidence and that understanding of technology, of how the crypto market actually works. What is the actual value of this stuff? You know, like that's how you hold through the dips. That is how you do when 99% of people are selling and everyone's like, oh, yep, crypto's over, scams, bubble's over. You're gonna hold on to your stock, and you're gonna hold it for the next 10, 15 years. And then when it pops off, like, you know, Apple stock, like, you ever looked at an Apple stock chart? It crashed heavy and it was worth nothing. Like people thought that company was done, gone for it, out for it. The people who understood the company, the people who understood the tech, the people who knew what this project was about, the people who actually, like, they had that knowledge. Because without that knowledge, you're just following the crowd, you know? Like it's much easier said than done to how through those things when 99% of people are doing one thing and you're sitting there doing another thing. You generally need to have some sort of basis for doing that, so other than just going against the crowd. I mean, that can work too. But, and that's a quote, see everybody else, do the opposite. That generally applies to anything in life. I love that quote. That's kind of how I live my life. But